I'm so happy to see so many of you join on Dubai Future Horizons, presented by Dubai Future Foundation and Remote Daily. Thank you, Jaleesa, for the amazing opening here with live music. We have also mindfulness for you. We have amazing guests, and of course, your questions, your comments, your presence here. This is all for you and with you. This is Horizon 75 minutes action on the road to the IRL gathering in Dubai this fall. You'll hear more about that in just a minute. I'm Felix Zeltner, your host. I have the honor to guide you through this hour, joining you live from New York City today. And we would love to know, where are you? From Ingolstadt to India, from Cameroon to Canada. Let us know where you are. This is our little World Cup here on Dubai Future Horizons. And of course, you can scan the QR code with your phone if you see that in front of you on your big screen, or just use the link in the Zoom chat to join Menti. This is where we visualize your contributions today. And while Ibrahim Malouf is playing, if you feel like reading along would be helpful, just switch on the captions here on your Zoom app. It's in the menu bar. You can also change the language and read along in your favorite language. If you're joining us on LinkedIn right now, hi out there on the live stream, you can also switch on captions through the CC button. That's it for the housekeeping. Our topic today is huge, a huge question, as we like it on Horizons: human by design. Who will we become? What will we need to be human in the future? This is also a leading question for the thing that Dubai Future Forum is morphing into in the fall. And as you know, over the past months, Dubai has been challenged, disrupted. It had to absorb attacks and deal with lots of uncertainty. Change is constant there. So how to react to that when gathering and talking about the future? I'm so glad to say hi to the curator of the Dubai Future Forum, who is here with an update. So happy to see you on Horizons. Welcome back, Aman Abed Al-Qadi. Good to see you.
Hi, Felix. How are you? How's everyone doing? Delighted to see so many familiar faces. Nina, Stephen, Kenny, all the friends of the forum that are here. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for joining, Aman. I think are you in a school right now? Did I
Maybe
receive this
I may have
information
double
correctly?
booked myself between a parent-teacher meeting and this podcast.
Wow.
Yeah,
So you're at the
working mom of
teacher's,
three, so
you're a
that's
teacher.
it's like a normal thing for me.
You are a true teacher to all of us. How are you doing, though? And I really mean this question.
We're great, excited for what the fall is going to bring. It's also the last week of school, so that's always exciting because it just means that we get to travel, and it's summer is around the corner. So yeah, exciting times for us.
And Aman, I mean, we all, I think, are super curious to hear, how will you bring people together in November? What's happening? What's going on? What do you have in store for us?
Yeah, so as you know, we like to, spice things up a little bit here in Dubai. It's the city that never sleeps. I know most of you have, or some of you have seen our latest, sort of our latest catchphrase or our latest verb, Dubai it. And so this is us Dubaiing it. We are creating or curating something totally new for this year, but totally inspired by the Dubai Future Forum and by the Futures community that is part of Dubai Future Horizons, but also just more broadly. So we'll be bringing together people for Dubai Future Week. Slightly deceiving. I appreciate the week is 7 days. It is a 5-day program, so a working week is more like it, but it's, mark your calendars. It's the 18th to the 21st of November here in Dubai. Super excited to be able to, bring again conversations around the future. I've said this on numerous calls. The future doesn't wait for anyone. So it's time for us to bring the future back, to get excited, to bring positivity, more hopefulness into the way that we think about the future. We're going to have immersive experiences. We're going to have talks. We're going to do lots of interesting and cool things, both inside the museum, but now also this year outside of the museum. So we'll be building out something called the district, which will have more of a festival flavor to kind of bring more and more people into the space of futures thinking and yeah, just getting more voices and more ideas and things into the future space. So super excited for
Wow.
what's to come. And on that topic, if you want a sneak preview into Dubai Future Week, I can offer you two things depending on the kind of person that you are. One is you'll see that Liz has dropped in the chat our resource library, our link to the resource library. And she's also dropped the link to our Insights report, which was actually launched just today. And so this Insights report gives you a sneak peek into what some of the content that you can expect for 2026 for the Dubai Future Week, inspired again by the forum for last year. Please have a read if you have any questions, or if you wanted to have, to have a chat around the key insights report, drop us a line. So that's for the kind of the more nerds, the people that like to read. And for the people that like to listen, my sneak peek is on today's podcast. You've got two speakers that will be joining us for Dubai Future Week here with us, John and Julian. Thanks again for joining us both today and then again in, what is it, 6 months? No, oh God, it's like 4.5 months away. But yeah, no big deal. 4.5 months from now. So we'll see them and we'll see all of you here.
Wow, you're doubling down.
Doubling
Unbelievable.
down. We're
Yeah,
Dubaiing
more
it.
days, more days, more people, more events. So excited. And Jasmine is asking, how can we participate? Is there going to
Of
be a
course,
call
the
for
key
application?
question always. So we're just in the process of transferring everything over, both in terms of mailboxes and websites and social media. So please just stay tuned to our social media channels. You'll get all the right information there. And then I'm also going to ask Felix to drop a message in our WhatsApp group once all the links and everything is live, so people can start registering and contributing to By Future Week.
All right. And Heather asked, participating virtually. I guess there will be live streams, Heather, and
Yes, there will be live streams. We are also thinking, just in terms of when we are thinking about the format for this year, we are exploring at new formats as well for Dubai Future Week. So we are considering doing some parts of it online, but it's just so much better in person. So just come to Dubai.
and Aman, you also brought a question to the room, which I always love when you ask something that you're curious about from this community, from all 5 continents. You are asking, and I'm going to read it out aloud, what you sent over. What superpower does the human of the future need? What superpower does the human of the future need that's Aman's question to all of you. And of course, we visualize your opinions, your feelings, your maybe first reflections on this big question via Menti. So click the link in the chat or scan the QR code so we can see what you think about what superpower we need to be humans in the future.
While
Why are
people
you asking that, Aman? Why
So
are you
while people
curious to hear?
submit their answers, I'm going to give you also, because I'm feeling so generous today. So I'm going to give you another sneak peek into the Dubai Future Week. We're curating against 5 different themes, all of which with this tagline of the human of the future, hence the name of this podcast. So we are exploring what it really means to be human, and what does that future look like for that human. So our themes are going to be around what will it take to how that human will live, how that human will innovate, how they'll think, how they'll do business, and then how they'll feel. And Isabella, I finally got all 5 correct. I'm always stumbling on the 5th, but I made it this time. So those are the 5 themes that we'll be looking at for this year's Dubai Future Week.
Okay, noted. And when I look at what the community of Foresight peers is collecting here in terms of the hive mind coming together, I see lots of empathy, compassion, connection, keeping focus, humor, forgiveness, be able to shut down robots, critical empathy, connection to nature, being conscious of being part of humanity as a whole. Anything that you is vibing with you, Aman? What would you respond to this question?
So I just saw here, I've seen authenticity. I think this is a big one, especially for people that are working in networks and then working in building out communities, is how do you ensure that authenticity and that accountability in the future, especially as communities are being reimagined in terms of the way that they are designed, in terms of participation. So that's a big one for me, is how do we work on that authenticity and how do we ensure that communities remain genuine?
And the ability to not go for easy answers, finding your own thought. This I love. This is just a bridge to what we're about to do here on Dubai Future Horizon. Thank you all so much for your contributions. Dubaiing the future. That's it. And I'm so glad you're here, Aman. Isabella's here. The team is here. And we'll hear from you again in the end now. Get out of that school. I hope they're not closing in on you. And we are about to start the session here with our amazing guests. Of course, I have the honor to introduce them. First up, good morning to LA, good morning Los Angeles, to a designer, engineer, researcher, co-founder of the Near Future Laboratory. I would love to be in that laboratory every day. Julian Bleecker, welcome to Horizons. How are you, Julian?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. It's really exciting to hear about and sort of anticipate the upcoming Future Forum. So very grateful.
Thank you, Julian. What did you just respond to the superpower question?
My superpower would be this is what I'm feeling right now, which would be an ability to kind of naturally see from other perspectives. And this has been a conversation that's been going on in my community, wondering about considering let's say we'll call it today neurodiversity as a superpower, ability
Wow.
to see somehow differently, and that not being something that is seen as like a lesser capacity, but actually a needed capacity.
So neurodiversity is as a supercharged empathy, almost that enables us to really change our perspective. Amazing. Joining you, talking of perspectives, jumping over to another continent. I think he's in Athens right now. The lawyer, professor, conflict researcher, Nobel Peace Prize nominee. Jesus. John Katsos is here. Welcome to Horizons. How are you, John? How's it going?
Hey, I'm good, Felix. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
John, you're a global citizen like many here. Where are you right now? Are you in Athens or where's the world
I am in Athens, Greece. I'll be in Dubai and Sharjah in a couple of days.
That's where you're
But yeah, I've been
teaching.
in Athens, Greece for a week. That's where I teach. I teach at the American University of Sharjah, and always happy to support our other UAE colleagues.
Wow, that's okay. So we're already spread across 3 continents just with our 2 guests here. And if you've been on Horizons, what we're about to do here, we're about to bring all of you on stage right now, no matter where you are or what device you're using, whether you're in school or on a train. I ask you to switch on your microphones. You heard that right. And even your camera, if it's comfortable right now, and say hi in your favorite language to our guests, to each other. Be loud, be a human. Hello, Horizons out there. Let's crash this call. Say hi to our guests and each other. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, thank you. We see so many have switched on their cameras and so many different languages. And Liz, let's hit that big mute all button for a second. Silencio. Here we go. Because this is Horizons and this is DJ Hourglass giving you the music. We're switching things up a bit today. Mindfulness will be at the end of the session, giving you a bit more time today to reflect on your humanness. So let's just shake out our hands right now, stretch maybe for just a moment, or maybe dance with Jaleesa, DJ Hourglass. Welcome to Dubai Future Horizons. Cheers. Oh man, so many colors. So much curated by our guests. What is happening here, Julian and John? Julian, you picked the song, right? You picked the group, you picked the band. Who's playing?
I'm not. It's my favorite band these days. It switches depending on what my nephews point me towards. But a band that I love from Baltimore, Maryland, called Turnstile.
All right, we'll hear more Turnstile today. And John, you brought us a whole other flavor. We'll hear more about that. But let's tackle our big question. You both have very different perspectives on humanity. John, you focus on conflict, resilience. Julian, you focus on imagination. So let's start by unpacking how you look at being human. What does it mean to be a human today? Just a small question to start with. John, please go first.
Yeah, I think it's about keeping your own judgment. The world is seemingly trying to do everything it can to make decisions for you, both technologically, but also other people around you. And in the last 20 years, when I've been interviewing people in places where the state collapses or the economy collapses, the worst has happened. So that could be, Beirut, Northern Ireland, Cyprus, Colombia, wherever. The people who are staying human under that kind of pressure aren't the strongest people or the smartest people. They're usually the ones who are just connected best with others and are able to keep making decisions for themselves, what they think is right and what's in the best interest of their community and themselves. But we have these machines that'll do that for us, right? But I think being human is really partly that act of refusal and saying, no, I'm going to take these decisions on my own.
Wow, lots of hearts here are flying to you, John, from the community. Keep your own judgment. That is what being human means right now, says John. Julian, what would you like to add?
Yeah, I mean it's generating on that and through what John just said. I mean, in the way I see it is very much similar, and I might put it to say that we all have this incredible ability to imagine other things, and taking that as a basis to think that we can actually see possibilities and sort of conjure in our minds, in our imagination, other ways of understanding, possibility, other ways of being, other ways of knowing, and reminding ourselves that we do have this ability individually. And so, when something pops into your head, oftentimes I think the easiest thing to do is ask, where did that come from? Is that something I heard the other day from someone else, or is that something that is really felt and sort of metabolized through my own desires and my own interest in having a particular kind of world to inhabit, even for a moment? And so this idea that, we have this ability to imagine that, to me, always just kind of stops me in my tracks. Like, my gosh, where did that idea come from? And what does it take to actually see the world differently and be comfortable resisting a particular set of kind of accreted positions or ideas about the world, just even for a second, not to be refusing, but to be questioning.
And it's funny that you both mentioned things that are now being almost marketed as being taken out of our hands, but you both say, we're still so much better at it. We're better at our own judgment, and we're better at imagination than any of the tools that are offered to us by technology. So let's do it. Let's strive on that. And Aman just gave us this list of 5 things that are connected to the human of the future and that will be discussed in Dubai. So we thought we're going to throw all these 5 things at you two and at everybody who's joining us right now. Even if you're on LinkedIn, you can be part of the poll right now that we're pushing out there for you, because I'm going to read them, because I'm also still in the process of memorizing what this is all about. How we will live, how we will think, how we will innovate, how we will feel, and how we will do business. This is what we're discussing at Dubai Future Week this year. And which of these ways of being human is going to change the most? That's our question to you all. Let us know what you think. The poll is open. Which part of being human will change most in the future? How we'll live, how we'll think, how we'll innovate, how we'll feel, or how we'll do business? And I'm going to invoke John and Julian while the poll is running. John, help us imagine your view on this. What do you think will change dramatically? Maybe you even saw a signal recently to prove it.
Yeah, my money is on how we'll think, but maybe not in the hopeful way people usually mean it. The signal I keep seeing in both my students, but also executives I consult for and people I interview, is that people are sort of quietly handing over the hardest part of thinking, which is sitting with a problem that you can't immediately figure out. So I gave a group of very smart, right, super sharp MBA students something to do, right? So a project, but they had to do it in class in front of me. And they reached for the chatbot immediately, right? So they were confused by things, which is part of the point of the exercise. They couldn't let themselves be confused for even 30 seconds without reaching for the chatbot. But confusion, I think, is where the thinking actually happens. So if we engineer that out of ourselves, I don't know that we get smarter. We probably just get faster at being wrong. And so that's the thing that I think will probably shift the most dramatically.
Wow. And I have to say the community is somewhat on your side, or you impacted, you influenced the poll here.
It's whatever
because
people
it was
hear the most
so
recently.
convincing what you shared. Julian, maybe a different perspective on this. What do you think will change most?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just push against something else just for the sake of the contrast. And I'll say how we'll feel. And I have to say, so I am building on what John said because I wondered about our ability to focus on, how our, body or mind might feel and using that as to reconsider how we respond. So I get and I totally understand and I've heard very directly and I actually feel it, that thing where just like, I guess like what we used to do when we're wondering a question and we'd immediately go to Google. And now I feel like the same thing is certainly happening now that we have access to, various machine intelligences. Let me just ask this thing and see what it says. And so I would love it if there were a world where you're so connected to that feeling, to that impulse, that you could find the way to pause around that in a thoughtful way. And again, it might not be a refusal, it might be like, let me just try wondering about this myself first, or with standing behind me in the grocery lane or whatever, so that we're not always jumping to the machine to puzzle through a question that might feel kind of desperately confusing for one moment. So I think if we could connect to those feelings, that kind of inner, urge, to the point where we're like, it's okay, sit with that confusion and let it kind of like wash over you, like the before the water gets warm in the shower. Like, okay, I'm just gonna, oh, what does that feel like? Oh my gosh, it's so uncomfortable, but I understand what, uncomfortableness feels like, and I'm okay. It's not the end of the world. So let me just go,
Yeah.
and just hold that, for a couple beats where we might actually then kind of build up that muscle that, it's like exercising, I guess. It's like, oh man, sometimes running just hurts, but I'm going to still do it. And I know that on the other side of it, I'll feel better about myself and I'll feel good. And if you kind of, you're broken and you sit down and you're sweating, you take a drink of water and you're like, that was good. That was good.
So you were making a point about human velocity maybe changing also in the future. We'll do many things a lot faster, but then we also have to, and somebody put that in to Aman's question about our future superpowers, taking a break as a superpower might become really important. Thank you both. And thank you everybody who's also contributing here in the chat to answer Anne's question. Yes, we will share the slides and everything you shared here afterwards. This is where our WhatsApp community group comes into place. So we always give that out to you. It's always amazing what this collective brain is producing in this hour. And for everybody who has questions, I saw Rashad and Elena, we have a few minutes of questions planned for you all. So you can join us on stage in a few minutes and ask your own question to Julian and John. Before that, I would like to know from Julian what you think is maybe the biggest misunderstanding about us trying to foresee human futures. And I'm asking you because you make a point also in many of the things that you're writing, Julian, that we should stop predicting and start imagining. So what's the biggest misunderstanding that you see in many, maybe also in the work that many of the people do who are joining us right now?
I think it's probably our relationship to the kind of temporal vector. We always think that, the future is kind of a temporal thing as opposed to maybe more of a continuum, or, looking for other metaphors about our relationship to the moment and place that we inhabit at any given time. And this is one of the reasons why in the work that I do, I make a point of not mentioning time, and in order to find that way to kind of sense into something. So sometimes, it's like, well, when would this be? I'd say imminently. It's like, well, do you have a year? Are we talking 3 to 5 years? Pretty soon, sooner
And
than you.
Julian, you brought a little exercise to the room as well. Before we dive into that, John, anything to add to what Julian just shared?
Yeah, I feel like I have to support prediction, if only because people often pay me for my predictions. But I mostly agree with Julian. I think the biggest misunderstanding is that the point of the prediction is, I don't think, to get it right. I think the point of the prediction is to make yourself feel better about possible futures. And that's where I do agree with Julian, is I think the imagination part is part of the rehearsal. So you're sort of building up to Julian said it right. He's saying all the right things, taking all the great points from me, about building that muscle up. And I think you do that in part through imagining, but also the predictions can help just rehearse your response to a thing. So when I was talking to companies that survived the Russian invasion of Ukraine, none of them predicted that was going to happen. Instead, they were really the ones who had sort of thought through different possibilities and then built up this kind of this ability to deal with multiple types of future. So like the imagination and the prediction are in some ways functioning similarly in order to kind of get us used to uncertainty and get us used to the idea that there will be things that we'll have to deal with that are not like the situation that we're facing now.
Brian just calls in the chat, stretching those imaginative muscles is key. And that's what we're going to do right now, because I asked Julian, preparing for the session, what is something you'd like to challenge the room on? You'd like to ask everybody. And Julian, you had this super cool question that you brought to us. Do you want to say it yourself?
Well, I guess my question would be just sort of reflecting on things that have been going on in the studio, and I think a lot of people have these kinds of questions. Is if we could imagine a world in which our relationship to things like AI and large language models is we're sort of cohabiting, and the world that we sort of imagine into, where let's say every surface is intelligent in some fashion, is not one where we feel sort of diminished, where we're actually collaborative, and sort of imagining, what we might sense or see or feel when we wake up in the morning. What is it, and what are the ways in which we my sort of usual question is, what's for breakfast in an AI future?
So basically, you're asking us to go into workshop mode and imagine our future selves waking up. What is the you say like a tactile thing, right? What is the first thing you reach for when you wake up in that future morning, Julian? Is that accurate?
That's right. Yes.
All right. So let's
And
give people...
it's just such a quotidian way, like, not, what do you reach for your glasses, and how is that different, or how has that changed? Do you think and then reach for whatever your morning beverage is?
Oh,
and
wow.
and how has that been sort of shaped and augmented by what you imagine might be in that world?
I see husband's coffee, water coming up already, but we'll give you a few minutes, a few seconds, I should say, to respond here on Menti. I would love to hear what you think when you imagine this moment. You open your eyes, maybe something is on your eyes, maybe you see you look into a screen, for whatever it is, imagine that future for a moment. Go out there with us, stretch your imaginative muscles, give you a few more seconds and live music to think and respond to this imaginary little workshop that Julian just gave us here. What do you think? Let's turn up the music a tiny little bit, Jason. I love this so much. So Julian, you sent some of us into science fiction. I see some asking, is there going to be water? Is there an oxygen tank? You sent some of us into existential moments. They want to grab a hand, see a face. You sent some of us into regenerative worlds where folks wander into their local forest and harvest. And you sent some of us into an introspection and into, I just want to be sane and be myself. And some of them also want to hold your latest book in their hands, Julian. Is that what you asked for? Is that what this question was secretly about? Julian, why did you ask this question? Maybe when you look at the chat at the Menti contributions, maybe you can solve this mystery for us. What are you actually looking for here, and what stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I like the question because it oftentimes, in context where you might be working on people are doing a futures oriented workshop or conversation, there's the expectation that we're going to go to the science fiction kind of idioms and the science fiction ideas and concepts. And I like to kind of just push up against that and do something unexpected, like starting a workshop off where everyone's sort of settling in around the table and they're ready to do some work, and there's the whiteboard. Okay, this feels about right, and there's a PowerPoint. It's like, right, okay, so under the table, each of you have a pair of running shoes. Let's go for a little jog. People being like, what? And just doing that little bit of a shift. And so asking the question, what's for breakfast in a blank future, AI future, or a future on where you're living in a different kind of context. Now we live on a farm, and imagining into that to try to get to the really, when you get down to like if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where are we on that? Are we talking about a world of robot butlers? And if we are, whose world is that you're now imagining into? Is it the one that you want to inhabit, or is it the one that, some well-positioned thought leader or whatever, industry leader, or the next billionaire is telling you this is the future? And so I think asking people to wonder about where their futures come from in their imagination, in their mind, and who and what are they talking to or for or on behalf of, brings that to light, brings that question of light. It's like, wait a minute, now, why am I inhabiting that particular future in my mind? And so it forces that question. I think that's a really fun one to do because it's, A, unexpected, and B, I think it gets to the thing that I sort of earlier, which is the difficult, not really, not, it's not intractable, but the difficult thing where it's like the feeling of, oh yeah, wait a minute. Now, why am I doing this? Where did this come from? Does this sound right because it sounds right? Or is this actually what I want or what I feel? And just get people to like look at the world just a little bit differently and jog themselves into a kind of self-reflective mode.
Is sleep still on the menu? Question that was posted here. Such a good one. John, what would you respond to this? I'm wondering.
I mean, a lot of people put this in there, and I think that it's the thing that resonates the most with me, which is I'd want my hand to go to the person next to me, who's been the person I've been able to have there for the last 19 years, before it goes to kind of anything else. And what worries me is it's becoming increasingly difficult to have it not be a device, right, or something. And I think the most radical thing you'll be able to do is maybe just to keep the first 90 seconds of your morning for the people in the room with you, rather than for a device or a smart TV or smart something. Every piece of technology we seem to be calling smart that isn't smart. But I think that to me that's sort of the kind of the radical thing. And to Julian's point, I think it's just interesting to think about. Yeah.
And you're talking about the present here. I mean, that's very much what's happening right now. We don't even have to go far into the future. And I love all these contributions here. Again, we will share them afterwards. We have seen uploading brains from cyberspace. We have seen morning tea. We have seen other humans in the contributions, and it's wild. It's wild what these mornings are going to look like, to say the least. We also didn't give out a date. Julian, did you have a certain year in mind when you asked that question?
No, I don't do dates. Imminently.
You don't do time. I forgot.
Yeah, the present, the swirl of context that we can focus on, where we feel like, the other thing about time is I think if you, in certain contexts, and absolutely, accepting the context that John works within, I'm not anti-time. I'm more like, let's just try as a provocation, just for a moment, to say, we don't know. Things happen very quickly, and can in a temporal sense. So it's more of a provocation to not think about time when we do these things. in certain contexts. And so I think that for the question that we're asking and the way in which we want to wake up, part of me is like, well, why not tomorrow? Like, why couldn't you say, like, what I'm going to do is, like, I'm not going to have the device in the bedroom, or you know what, we're going to actually get rid of the smart television. So thinking about how you could do it right now, when you say 3 to 5 years, you're like, oh, I got plenty of time to deal with that one.
And it brings us to our questions that were sent in when you all signed up for the session. Dozens of questions that reached us. Thank you so very much for taking the time again to sit down and think, what would I like to know? What would I like to find out on Horizons today? And the most voted community question is from Heather Galbraith over there in Calgary. Thank you for submitting it. It is, what are the biggest uncertainties you are watching right now, Julian, John? What are the biggest uncertainties you're watching right now? Was the most uploaded question from all the questions that were submitted. And John, I know that you focus on a lot of things that are uncertain and worrying in your day-to-day. So what would you respond to this question?
Yeah, I mean, the big one is whether this disruption that we keep calling temporary has quietly become a kind of baseline. So because I advise companies on political risk, essentially every framework that they own was built for shocks, but shocks that come, they peak, they pass, and then things go back to normal. And that means you can wait certain things out. And what I'm watching is whether we've crossed into this sort of world where the shock's never really over. It just runs into the next thing. And so if we're currently, we're operating as if weather will get better. But if it's just permanent bad weather for a while, that's a very different problem. And I think most companies, but a lot of people just haven't admitted to themselves yet that that's a different problem. And then sort of linked with that is whether the skills we've learned in response to some of these crises actually hold up over time. So can people have them layer over multiple crises to make them work? I'm still uncertain as that. We have a lot of people who are good at responding to certain crises. They've been really good at responding to COVID or responding to certain types of geopolitical events. And I'm always looking at whether or not they'll be able to then pivot to the next crisis. So if it's sort of a constant crisis setting, will they be able to then take those lessons that they've learned and apply them somewhere else? Or was it really a one-time thing? Were they just uniquely capable of dealing with one type of issue and they can't really deal with something else?
So just to understand, you respond to this question, what are the biggest uncertainties, by saying, I'm not watching certain uncertainties. What I'm watching is our current state becoming almost like something that is not ending, despite of us thinking it will end. So the uncertainty being much bigger and much more constant that we think. Did I paraphrase that correctly?
I think that's spot on. Yeah. And I think some of that is informational. We always, for the last 20 years, we've been talking about how we have more information than we've ever had. But I think it's different now, in part because now it's not only that we have not all the information, we have lots of information, but it's almost instant. And so we can see someone suffering somewhere else. That's different than what we're used to as human beings. And then combine that with actual crises, right? So COVID-19 or the recent attacks in the Gulf. And it's going to be interesting to see how we deal with that. I don't know.
A lot of your work, John, is on resilience, and we had many people also submitting questions that are around, like, what are skills of the future human? Like, what do I need to be able to do, or what is a craft or something that I have to learn to be that, human of the future? And I think you make a big point in your work and what you're saying right now about resilience being a core part of that. So what is maybe something we all get wrong about resilience to start with?
I think people assume that it's just like, okay, we're going to go back to before. We're going to snap back to our old shape and everything will be fine. But in pretty much every conflict zone I've studied, and now I'm at 28, the people and the businesses that do the best don't go back. They just organize around whatever the new reality is. And so when we say the word resilience, it sounds like, the sort of the tough person. It sounds like a rock, but what it really is water, right? So it sort of moves. Real resilience is that capacity to be changed by what's happening, but still keep functioning and not lose sort of the essence of who you are. And then the second bit of that is that people usually assume that it's this, these soul individuals, that it's some kind of individual trait to be resilient. But it's almost never like that. Resilience is usually in relationships and systems that you create and that are around you. And that means that if that's something that you're looking to develop, it's not about becoming a harder person, a tougher person. It's about creating tougher relationships, right? So having thicker connections, having thicker relationships with those around you before something terrible happens, right? Building them during is possible, but you're going to be much more resilient, and your community will be much more resilient if you have those thick relationships beforehand. I'd say that's the biggest misconception.
But if it's more water than rock, how can I learn that?
So for humans, I think it's about engaging with other people, right? So it's about making sure that you have these deeper relationships. And I think a big part of that is we have like a relationship repair epidemic. Like we're not good at repairing relationships. I think we used to be better at it when we lived in small communities, but we talk a lot about loneliness, and some of loneliness is drifting away and drifting into technology and that, but some of loneliness is we've just gotten very bad at being peacemakers. We've gotten very bad, I think, collectively at being better at repairing and knowing how to bring people back together, knowing how to ourselves not just ask for forgiveness, but also be forgiven. I think we have this almost shame associated with bad actions that we didn't have before. So around a lot of when the Me Too stuff was happening, there was a lot of really important work about, well, people have to do the work. When do people who are accused get to come back into the public eye? Doing the work means repairing relationships. Right? That's extremely difficult. It's not something we're good at. So you have people who have gotten very good at breaking relationships and behaving badly and having it videotaped and live streamed, but not very many people have built up that skill set of being able to repair relationships.
Wow. So you're almost saying invite the problematic relationships back into your life.
Look, there's been a lot of work done about adult children no longer speaking to their parents. This is a big thing, and especially in Western developed economies. A lot of that is because of technology and the way we live and how far apart we live. But a lot of that is people to a certain extent are stuck and don't know how to repair those relationships. Mm-hmm. What I've noticed in different places where I've been is in a lot of conflict zones, the people who are the best able to be resilient, right, or to move on, are the ones who are the best at that. They're extremely good at, okay, so we had an issue with each other. Let's repair that relationship. We know how to do it, and we know how to move beyond it. There are relationships that can't be repaired. Okay, so that's right. Knowing when that can't happen is also important. But sometimes, a lot of times, relationships are not too far gone. Instead, they might just end up being different.
Julian, before I come to you, you were listening, thinking. I could see that. I just would like to say that to many questions that come up in the chat, we are about to invite you on stage. So if you would like to come on stage and ask John Julian a short question, so that we have time for a few, please raise your hand. On Zoom, you can do that by clicking or tapping the react button and then choose raise hand in your Zoom language, so we know that you would like to join us on stage. And while you're thinking, what is a smart thing I could ask these two very smart guys? Julian, you just listened to John and this kind of skill that he was carving out, the skill of being resilient, the skill of inviting problems in form of other people back into your life, the skill of becoming water rather than a rock is something that John says is pivotal to be the human of the future. What would you like to add or build on top of that?
Yeah, such a rich response. The thoughts that were going through my head were actually kind of flashback to a conversation that I had when I was in Dubai last year with a researcher who was at one of the big foundation AI companies, and we prompted ourselves around this dinner table to think about what we would want in an AI future. Like, what do you think? There's it's very easy to sort of say what you don't want. It's easy to do the binary, get rid of it, or it's going to change everything. It's going to be amazing. How could you possibly think otherwise? But just try to do that challenging thing of like, okay, if there were a world in which it was around us, um, rather than rejecting it, how would you like to see it? And John's response made me think of um, one of the topics around the conversation, which was if AI could operate in a kind of reparative mode. So if it gave you the ability to reflect and kind of reflect upon your in the context that John was talking about in your relationships that need repairing, to be able to shift your perspective or your mindset or your way of thinking about, let's say, a broken relationship, and whether that's interpersonal or whether that's at the level that I think John operates, which is large institutions that are trying to enact some kind of policy or perspective or conversation to be able to repair a conflict. Could it possibly do something in a way where it's like, let me help you see it from the other side. Let me help you see it from the middle. Let me help you see it in a way that, just for a moment, that isn't you trying to leverage your advantage in a power dynamic, and be able to integrate that into one's way of thinking and seeing. And I don't know how much that is we're able to do that individually, on our own. I think it's a very hard problem, but if we could learn that skill, and I think, probably for a lot of people, I think my wife's a therapist, so I hear about this a lot, about the power of that kind of other perspective, a very trained other perspective, to help you reflect and provide a particular kind of mirror that isn't judgmental, in the best of cases. It's more just kind of like, huh, yeah, did you also think about it this way? Or let me help you see that this way. And I know it sounds like a little bit sci-fi to imagine that this is a mode of operating with these peculiar kinds of language models, intelligences, however you want to look at them, that give you that perspective. And if it could do it in a way where you're not like, oh, that's I'm feeling like it's extractive. If there were a way to imagine into that world where it just kind of was, in a way, that to me is really interesting and actually kind of exciting to think about.
So basically the AI that goes the other way, that doesn't separate us but help us repair. And I think Greg made a really interesting comment here in the chat related to this. Greg writes, I think we've experienced conflict and intimacy separately, but much less so experiencing both at the same time. So many of us have lost those skills. What a deep way to think about this. And thank you, John and Julian. I have one more question. I will let you guys chat for a minute about this before we have everybody joining us on stage here. So if you have a question for John and Julian that you would like to ask yourself, maybe you've posted in the chat before, maybe it just came up, please raise your hand on Zoom, and we know that you want to join us on stage. And I have one last question before the Q&A. I was wondering if there's another skill that you both say is underrated, that we need, that we will need much more of. You say, Julian, basically the technology, you think about it as in a different way in the future. Hopefully it will help us. John, you said, resilience as a skill that we have to look at in a very different way, but maybe there's other skills that you two can think of. John, I'll go back to you where you say, yes, I think these are completely underrated when it comes to the human of the future. And while you respond, I'll keep listening. I'll just let Jade into our space here. So just switching off the camera for a moment. Thank you, John.
Yeah, I think it's what Julian was talking about actually at the beginning. And it reminds me of Keats used to call it negative capability, like the capacity to be in uncertainty without reaching for a logical conclusion. And I think that's every tool we're building, every technology that we're talking about is often a machine for killing that discomfort faster. right? So for getting rid of the inefficiencies that come from that. And yet it's that negative capability where all the, I don't know, where all the living happens. That's kind of where all the fun is. And so I'd say that's the underrated thing, is just being able to have that capacity for uncertainty and not having to have a logical answer immediately. Instead, just being able to, again, coming back to Julian's point from the beginning, coming back to just being able to feel discomfort without letting it overwhelm you, and having that then shape the ideas that you can form after that. I don't know. What do you think, Julian?
Yeah, I love that. It makes me just imagining that. And what comes in my mind is like being, posed, a question in whatever context it might be, at work or whatever, and just being able to go like, yeah, that's a really good one. And with someone sitting there waiting, like shifting from foot, well, what should I do? I mean, do I run down to the warehouse and talk to the people? It's like, yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah, I'm sure we always figure it out. We'll work it through. Um, yeah, it's really fascinating to imagine if that was a named condition. I mean, I think someone, Mark Miller in the chat said, "Staying with the trouble." Like, let's just stick with this. Let's sit with this for a while. I guess that is like a kind of idiom that you might hear people say, but I get what you're saying, that there is this kind of like desire to come to like the full stop conclusion, like no ellipses, just a period. Like, what are we gonna do? It's fascinating to imagine that if you could develop that as a skill or a sensibility, in high school, it's like you've got ninth period, staying with the trouble. Let's just not try to answer it. Let's answer around it. Let's discuss around it.
And there's more from the community here. Jasmine posted, underrated skill, humility of positioning being human away from human-centric thinking into a coexistence with other known and yet unknown consciousness. Stephen says, willingness to consider things that are improbable possible. Sebastian writes, I think a skill that's underrated is the ability to sense change, watch the seasons change, sense the temperature of water in the nearest body of water, sense the needs of your crops, anticipating the weather, etc. And I have to say, Ida closes it by saying, learning to be comfortable in uncomfortable moments and situations. I feel like that is a lot of what you two are giving us today, is imagining ourselves out there in moments that are hard to think about, but then, learning and figuring out that human of the future is actually much closer to us already than we might be willing to accept. It's not something that's out there and super remote. It's happening already. So you're both near futurists in a way. The near future laboratory is open, Julian. And I would like to give out this call one last time. If you have a question for Julian and John that you would like to ask on stage, please raise your hand here on Zoom. Use the react button on your app to make sure that we see you. And I think Mariam is here on stage with us. Mariam, so good to have you on Horizons. Welcome. Where are you joining from? And what is your question for Julian and John?
We are advancing towards the future. Don't you think we are actually shedding away what it is to be human? We are becoming more individualistic than becoming together in a community. So more technological advances, but more the heart is decreasing. So that's the question to both of them. And how do we actually consciously rewire this? Because I see a lot of the communities are coming together, but we are not proactive and coming with each other and connecting. We are connected by technology, but not that much. So yeah,
Thank you,
that's my
Mariam.
question.
So you're worried about the individualistic part as a society that is bothering us and how that is going to evolve in the future. We're going to collect more questions here for you, Julian and John, to make this a bit trickier for you, but also to hear what everybody else is thinking. Fatima, welcome to Horizons. Welcome to the stage. Where are you joining us from? And what is your question to John and Julian, Fatima?
Hello, thank you everyone. This is for the amazing session. I'm joining now from Dubai, and my questions similar to what Mariam have already mentioned. Considering different generation one to other, and I know and technology and AI is going in faster than can we imagine. How people still yet to connect and talk to each others. What can be aligning points for them, either for a life or for a workplace?
What can be aligning points for people in the future? Basically, common understandings that we can give out into the world. Fatima, did I understand you
Yeah,
correctly?
the more inputs we have as a human within the devices, technologies, tool available, it give each different perspective to things, how to deal, how to think, how to live, as we mentioned earlier. So it makes it difficult to come in a relationship. As already we have mentioned here, we came to the repairing relationship. But
Yes.
considering different generation on that, parents, grandfathers, coming, my grandchildren's.
Yes. What is a common narrative, maybe, as we are all telling each other stories and ourselves stories every day? What is a common narrative for the future? Thank you,
Yeah.
Fatima, for joining us today. And we will take Adil next. Adil, welcome to Horizons. Where are you joining us from? And what is your question for John and Julian?
Hello, thank you very much for hosting this session. I'm joining from Saudi Arabia with an interest in how human thinking and decision making can evolve alongside AI while ensuring continuity and depth over time. And how can we ensure continuity in relationship decision making over time so that critical reasoning is not lost between individuals or generations? Thank you.
How can critical thinking survive what is happening at the moment? We will stop here for a second to give John and Julian a chance to respond. I see a common theme here, but I would like to leave it to you two to respond. Who would like to start? John or Julian? Who is hitting the mute button first?
Oh,
Julian.
thank you, John. I'll
It's like a game of chicken, right? Who's gonna press the button first?
Well, so some of the thoughts that come to mind as I'm just sort of like metabolizing the questions, things that came to my mind were um, a moment, a scene from an invitation to a friend's birthday party in a place that I wasn't familiar with, actually over near where DJ Hourglass is, over in Echo Park, and I was like looking for the place, and I kind of got a little bit confused as to where I was supposed to go because I went to one place. Oh, this must be at the. It was a Wednesday night. It was late. It wasn't, but here's a place where there are a lot of people gathered on a Wednesday night. You wouldn't necessarily expect people to be out. And I went in. I was like, wait a minute, is this it? And it was filled with sort of younger folks, 20 somethings, and they were all playing board games, and the place was alive and vibrant, and there's music going, and there was drink, coffee and kombucha on tap, and it was thriving. I was like, oh, is this the party? And it wasn't. So I was like, oh, okay, my mistake. I went two more doors down, and then I got to the place that was a party, and it almost felt like a record shop, but it was like videos and also traditional pinball machines, and that's where the party was. And the feeling that I got from the evening was it was really like we're going to be okay. Like there were people who were actually gathered together on a oddball night to spend time together and do this very non-tech, non-plugged in Wi-Fi kind of thing, which was play pinball, commune with each other, and then this other place that was not where the party was, play board games. And it was this feeling of like hopefulness. So I think we see a perspective of like lots of people. There's a general imagination in our head that we're all just connected and we're all just kind of siloed, which is not the case. But also, if you kind of really get your kind of ethnographic mindset and noticing capability on, you can look around and be like, I just drove by a park where people were playing basketball. Or on the weekends, I'll take my dog to this one park where there'll be multiple simultaneous little league baseball games going on. So you get to watch, young kids play
Yes.
play baseball.
So what
So
you're saying is the revival of the analog, the revival of togetherness is already well underway.
it's
And we have to
happening.
see it.
You have to see
And maybe there is a renaissance, almost a movement behind it. John, your response to the very smart questions from the community.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to add anything more significant than what Julian just said, other than to say, I think we can't look looking backwards doesn't make a lot of sense, except for lessons. So I think there's sometimes a tendency to want to look back and imagine the past as somehow better than the present. And to something Julian said, Julian was saying something earlier. It reminded me of this, of all things, of this. There's this like 6th century theologian. I was a religion major in undergrad, so sometimes these things pop into my head. And he has this point where he says everything is either right now or forever. The idea being, look, the past is the past; it's gone. There's nothing you can do about it, right? And to look at, to Julian's point about temporality that he's brought up a couple of times, there's almost no use in thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow, a year from now, 10 years from now, whatever. Just think about the future more broadly, right? Think of it as sort of, okay, so forever from now, whenever. And I think that's one way, to Adil's point about connecting. He was talking about continuity in decision making. I don't know that we necessarily need continuity in decision making. Our decisions haven't been so great in the past that we need continuity in decision making. So we can look to the past to sort of say, okay, there's some lessons here, which is, to me, one of the major lessons for decision making is humans don't make such great decisions. I mean, we tend to we don't make great decisions. One of the reasons we keep asking technology to make decisions for us is because we often make such bad decisions so regularly that we think the world will be better if the better decisions are made. Sorry if you can hear my dog barking, by the way.
Maybe the dog has also just made a decision. Thank you, John.
He's made a decision. That's right.
I'm so glad you brought that up. We are about to enter into our moment of mindfulness, but before that, I would like to give Ismail, Genevieve, and Eleonora a chance to briefly ask a question. Ismail, welcome to Horizons. Where are you joining us from, and what is your question to John and Julian today?
Hi, Felix. Hi, Dr. John, Katsos, and Julian. Ismail from Dubai. I would like to ask Dr. Katsos my question, I think, yes, about when we're getting the ability to optimize almost everything, every aspect of our lives with AI and everything, what should we literally intentionally choose not to optimize?
Thank you, Ismail. What a wonderful question. What should we not optimize? Is there a quick answer to this, John?
So this is personal. I'd say just from my standpoint, the one thing I don't have AI do is write emails. And I know that's something, that's no judgment on the people who do that. But it's because I've never wanted to optimize my communication with other people. So I want when someone reaches out to me, even if I'm delayed in doing so, for them to know that it's me, right? It's me, it's my voice, it's who I am. And so for me, that's always been sort of a red line, is making sure, WhatsApps, emails, all those things, those are coming from me.
Organic writing. That's a strong point. Genevieve, welcome to Horizons. Where are you joining us from, and what is your question for Julian and John?
Hi, Julian. Hi, John. Hi, Felix. Thank you guys for making this possible. It's been epic so far. I am joining from Cape Town, South Africa. And I think thinking about AI, or when I first sort of started interacting with it in more of an LLM way, I saw it as, if we treat this like a child, and we are all members of the village, and the more we engage with it, it's our responsibility and our onus to raise this child the way we want to raise it. And that sort of got me thinking of training AI on biomimicry. And I'm wondering, is there a space very much to the point of resilience and humans potentially not really making the best decisions if we look at nature and its resilience? Is there a space, do you think, for biomimicry to come into teaching AI, and especially when it comes to resilience and regenerative future thinking systems, as well as, just systems thinking for now?
Thank you, Genevieve. Is biomimicry already maybe teaching LLMs, Julian, John?
I'm not sure, to be very frank, just in a practical sense. But your question makes me think about I'm really fascinated by what is often referred to as like the local language model kind of communities, which are very technical and nerdy, but it's about running AI locally on your own machines with open source models. And there are even people who have a lot of horsepower in home, and they're actually training their own models. And I find that absolutely fascinating because I like to imagine that there is a world in which it's not just that there are 2 or 3 or 4 large language models, but there are very many, a diversity of them, and you find the ones that operate according to your kind of principles. I think it's a fascinating thing to wonder into. I'm not sure what kind of world it leads into, but I love kind of speculating and creating and imagining what that might actually look like. Like, are there data barns on farms that are trained on the different practices and rituals of what it takes to do what we need, which is like grow food? And are they very specific for that and have certain principles and non-extractive behaviors that help facilitate those kinds of things? That's just one way of imagining into it.
Anything to add from your side, John?
Nothing
No.
on my end. The only thing I would say is like the biological imperative is usually survival, and I hope that we would want to do more than just survive. And so that would be my worry, is we're doing more than surviving right now as humanity, but maybe at certain costs that will be too difficult to bear for the future. So I'm always careful with biomimicry stuff because the biological imperative is different than maybe what we might expect.
We shouldn't Darwinize AI when we think about biomimicking it. Thank you. And thank you, Genevieve, for the fascinating question. The last is on you, Eleonora. Welcome to Horizons. Where are you joining from, and what is your question?
Hi, Felix. Hi, John. Hi, Julian. I'm calling from Dubai, connecting from Dubai. So thank you for this beautiful session and very inspiring. I have a question, and maybe it's a little bit more personal for Julian and John, which is, what could you advise one action, maybe something that worked for you in the past, as to how you expand your comfort zone into, being in the uncomfortable? And yeah, what has worked for you and what would you suggest?
Just another easy question. How do you expand your comfort zone to live in the uncomfortable? I love that. John, I think that's for you first.
Hey, so personally, I read a lot. And so I'll try to read things that I wouldn't normally read. So I ask for book advice from people who I don't usually share the same book feelings with. So it means I read crazy stuff, like stuff that has nothing to do with anything. But sometimes that ends up connecting in ways that, I never expected. So I never really read sci-fi. And then about 6 or 7 years ago, a friend of mine recommended a set of books by Kim Stanley Robinson. And I got so into it for a while, but I never would have touched it otherwise. And the first 100 pages or so, I was very uncomfortable. I was like, okay, I'm going to finish this book, but I'm not happy about it. But then I was super happy about it by the end. So to me, I generally will do it through reading, right, through books.
Being uncomfortable for you, Julian? What do you recommend?
Yeah. This is one that I actually really enjoy, and again, it's another personal practice, but I think lessons can be drawn from it, which is I just expose myself to like what I say in a kind of avuncular way. What are the kids doing? Like, what are they listening to? What are their rituals? What are they wearing? And really try to literally inhabit that world, which means not just observing, but participating in. So for a while, I was doing skateboard photography, which would have been the last thing that I would have thought. That I mean, I have nothing to do with skateboarding. I don't have any full sleeve tattoos or anything like that. I've never skateboarded, but it was something that was, moving to Venice Beach. It's like, there it is, and integrating into the community in a way that led to so many amazing, book projects and relationships, most importantly. And there was one relationship that I did when I just did a photo book project that was nothing but women skateboarders, because I thought, no one's looking at this. Let me try to look at this community. And two of the women who I got to know them, one actually was, she was just finishing high school, became like pro skaters and are dear friends. We literally went to lunch the other day. And so seeing and sensing into these adjacent worlds that otherwise you might be like, I'm too old for that. That's not my
And
world.
that might not find you cool at all. I think that's also a big part, right? That is uncomfortable.
Oh, they always find it cool. They're like, okay,
to go in and be like, I want to be a part of this, and people are like, nah, you're not, and you're like, I'm gonna hang out and just see if I can contribute to this. Thank you so much for this question, Eleonora. And talking of relationships, we always have a special mindfulness moment for you in this community. And I have learned in this session now that, you know, being a human in the future is to invite people into your life, is to also invite some challenges into your life, which can include cleaning out and emptying out your bedroom at home, which I did today, to make the studio a little bigger, to be able to host mindfulness here in person with our mindfulness guide, Jade Alexis, who has just joined me in real life. She was buzzing the door. I was running out of the studio, got her in, and she's here right next to me. So I'm going to clean my space and make room for what I think is one of the most important parts of every Horizon session. Jade Alexis, welcome. Enjoy, everybody. And there's music for you.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here with you all. It's such a great topic that Felix is hosting, and Julian and John, thank you for your guidance, your wisdom, and your knowledge. I'm here to hopefully help facilitate all of the good stuff you two have already put out into the universe through conversation here. I will guide us all through some movement to remove tension from the body. When we remove tension from the body, it also helps clear tension from the mind space. When our mind is clear, we can think and feel and act with more clarity and more peace. So if you will join me on this journey of some simple movements before we connect with our breath and dive inwards. And because we here as human beings have the privilege of a beautiful mind, we'll take this mind and we'll travel into the past, we'll travel into the future, and we will enjoy some time in the present moments. If you will, join me as we move. Sit up nice and tall, adjust your seat, feel your sits bones connect with your chair. Relax your shoulders down and away from your ears. Beautiful. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, exhale, like a sigh of relief. Beautiful work. Keep your eyes closed. Relax your shoulders. Keep your torso nice and still. Drop your chin down towards your chest. Feel the stretch through the back of your neck. On your inhale, I want you to lift your head all the way up, gaze up towards the ceiling space above you. Take your head as far back as you can, stretching out, opening up your throats. Beautiful. Lower your chin back down towards your chest. Tuck your chin all the way in. As you inhale, lift your head all the way up. Go as far back as you can. Come back through center. Keep your eyes closed if you will. Turn your head all the way to the left. Notice the gentle stretch, the shift in a stagnant energy. Turn your head all the way to the right. Beautiful work. Let's do that with the breath. As you inhale, turn to the left. As you exhale, turn to the right. Coming back through center. Beautiful. Interlock your fingers in front of your chest. You can open the eyes if you need the visual guidance. Extend your arms all the way forward and away towards your screen. Inhale, reach your arms all the way up and overhead. Stretch up as high as you can. Try to get your arms straight. Press your palms up towards the ceiling or space above you. Press through all four corners of your feet. Inhale to lengthen, reach up. Good. Soften your shoulders as you exhale. Stay right here, John. I know you can get your arms straighter. Ready? Inhale, reach up. There we go. Reach, reach, reach. Exhale, release your arms down by your sides. Beautiful work. Let your palms stay face up. You can bring the tip of the index finger and the thumb to connect. It helps with concentration. Close your eyes. Go back inside. Find your breath. If you will, seal your lips, let your breath come and go through your nostrils. When we focus the mind on the breath, it draws the mind into the present moment. The present moment free of fear, worry, stress, anxiety. Spend a few moments now with your breath. Breathe in and out through your nose. Notice how peaceful this is. Keeping your eyes closed, keep your lips sealed, let the breath come and go through the nose. See if you can identify all 4 parts of your breath. Notice your inhale, the slight pause at the top of your inhale, your exhale, the slight pause at the bottom of your exhale. Notice all 4 parts of your breath. We will work to balance all 4 parts of your breath. We will inhale for 3, hold the breath in for 3, exhale for 3, hold the breath out for 3. Begin with me. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Hold your breath in, 3, 2, 1. Exhale out nose, 3, 2, 1. Hold your breath out, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, continue on your own. Use a count of 3 or more. Just keep all 4 parts balanced. After your next exhale breath, keep your eyes closed, let your breath resume normal. I invite you to travel back into the recent past and look for a lesson. What did you learn in your recent past? It could be something simple, or maybe it's a big life lesson. What have you learned in your recent past? As you let that thought go, I want you to contemplate the future. Let's contemplate the near future. Think of how you want to experience the rest of today. Maybe you want to be peaceful, active. Maybe you want to learn, you want to be inquisitive. Contemplate how you want to experience the rest of today and set an intention. For example, I am present. I am mindful. Set your intention now. Beautiful work. Now bring your mind back into the present moment. Find the breath at the entrance of your nostrils. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, exhale. Bring your hands to prayer in front of your heart space. Let the thumbs rest on your sternum. Bow the head toward your heart space. Lift your head. Open your eyes. And thank you all for your time, for breathing with me, for moving with me, for being mindful with me. Love and light to you all. And Felix, I welcome you back on stage.
I just gave Jade a hug on behalf of all of you. This was Dubai Future Horizons for today, and I would like to ask John, Julian, and Isabella to join me on stage for the closing. And I will not let you go without an invitation. Our brand new Futures Book Club, another very human endeavor. We'll come back on July 14th when we host and have read by then the 3 winners of the Futures Short Story Contest. 3 fascinating, amazing future humans are in the session with us. So read it, sign up, and be a part of this new, very bookish subculture of the Dubai Future Forum and the Dubai Future Horizons community. And now, John, Julian, and Isabella, oh man, you're all future humans. So what would you like to leave us all with today? What is your final message to all of us? Isabella, I'll start with you. You have been a patient listener and participant in the session. What would you like to leave everybody with?
Yeah, it was an amazing session. I think I was not stopping taking notes and sending messages to my husband saying, you see, we have to be uncomfortable. You have to stop writing emails with AI or something like this. I think there are 2 things that I will keep with me. One is, where does the future come from in your imagination? This is something that Julian said. And this is something we're going to discuss also at our Future Book Club on the 14th of July. And the other one, it was John was saying, it's the importance of human relationship. I loved the metaphor. Resilience is not a rock, but it's water. And I think we should all learn to be more water than rock. I think it's very much needed. So this is our 2 of the greatest lesson I learned today, and that I keep it with me. Thank you so much to both of you, John and Julian. And thank you, Felix, and everybody of the team, of course, to help us.
Thank you, Isabella, and your team for making this possible. Julian and John, I won't let you go without a last word. Julian would like to start.
Yeah, we have to find a way to reinvigorate imagination as not just a kind of woo-woo thing for children, but something that we all are well aware of and integrate into all our practices in business, in commerce, in creativity. It's something that we all have this remarkable ability to do because we've got this crazy vascularized piece of meat in our head that can do these remarkable things. And we need to remind ourselves of that.
Thank you, Julian. John, your last words for today.
So for me, it's that the future isn't simply happening to you. A small number of people are trying to design it, but you're allowed to have an opinion about it. And whatever the future turns out to be, it'll still be built on how we treat the person that's in front of us. That part hasn't changed in 100,000 years, and I don't think it's about to. So today, just try to be useful to somebody. That's the whole thing. Thanks again for having me, and thanks to the Dubai Future Foundation for setting this up.
So don't only be a human of the future, also be a human making the future. I think we made a little bit of future today, and maybe this is a good thing to say from now on. Not we made history, but we made future today. I'm so glad I had the chance to host you, and thank you to Iman and Isabella, to Hessa, Bilal, and the entire Dubai Future Foundation team making this possible. To Liz, to Jade Alexis, who is wrapping up next to me right now, to Jaleesa, of course, over there in LA, aka DJ Hourglass, to our live stream specialist, Chris, who put us out there on LinkedIn, and of course, to the entire community. Thank you for making the time, for your amazing contributions. We will share them afterwards. And I hope it makes you think. I hope it makes you be human and embrace all the messiness that comes with it, what happened here today. We'll see you again soon. Continue the discussion. Get ready for Dubai Future Week and for who we will become. Continue the conversation in the WhatsApp community. And while the final song is fading in, I will ask you for one last time to go off mute. Yes, you heard that right. Say it out loud, say goodbye in whatever language you prefer. Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye to Dubai Future Horizons. It was an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, DJ.
Thank you.
Vemos.